Hi everybody, welcome to our Salesforce Supermums webinar tonight. Great to have you all on the call. I'm glad you managed to make it after hopefully putting the kids to bed. I always think it's a bit of a close shave having a webinar at 8 o'clock. I'm always a little bit nervous about whether I'll make it or not, but I have arrived. Hopefully the kids are going to stay in bed and I can tell you a little bit more about Salesforce and what a Salesforce admin is all about tonight. So throughout the session, you're more than welcome to put questions in the question panel, and then I can pause at various points and come back to those. I might also ask you a few questions, and you'll see in the attendee area, you can put your hand up if you, I'll ask you if you want to put your hand up if you kind of are familiar with things that I'm talking about, just so I get a sense of who the audience is and what your current knowledge is really. So I'll just do a bit of an introduction. We've got a few more people expected to join, so hopefully they're just in the midst of putting their kids to bed as well. And what I'm going to aim to do tonight is obviously give you a background to what Salesforce is as a product, but also what Salesforce admin is in terms of what a Salesforce administrator role is, but how those skills then translate into lots of other job roles that happen to be in the Salesforce sector, and give you a bit of an idea. So just to introduce myself, I'm Heather Black, Managing Director of Economic Change, which is a Salesforce consultancy that specialises in the non-profit sector. And I got involved in Salesforce about 10 years ago as an end user, a customer that was using it and really loved playing with the system and developing it, and really wanted to help other non-profits make the most of Salesforce. So after a couple of years of managing my own system for the organisation I was running at the time, I then decided to develop my skill set as a consultant to help other non-profits. And as I evolved in that role, I realised that it was a career that could offer me more flexibility, and I was planning on getting married and having kids. Realised that it was actually developing my skill set as a consultant was the career that I wanted to go down. And I hadn't got a background in technical skills, IT, or anything. Salesforce very much empowers you to use clicks rather than code, so you can build a system in many ways just through clicks and having an understanding about how it works. So I'm going to show you some of that practically tonight about how you can manage a system. And being a mum myself, realised that Salesforce was a role that other mums could do flexibly. It allowed me to do that. I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old now, and I've been through the journey of having babies, breastfeeding them at home for a year, travelling between London and where I live in Hastings, and having that real flexibility around it. And part of that journey of flexibility was also about bringing on a team as well around me, because I suddenly found that I had more work than I could service myself as an independent consultant, and I've now got a team that support me, and have all got a passion around Salesforce and work with non-profits as well. So that team also support our Salesforce Supermums that we train. So we've had 78 trainees go through the program now, and we've had 9 training cohorts. And all of them have sort of developed skills around Salesforce, but then have gone into a whole range of roles, from being data analysts to project managers to Salesforce admins. So I'll share a little bit about some of their journeys as we go through. So just to introduce Salesforce, I'd like you to just put your hands up if you've worked with Salesforce before. So if you just want to click on your little hand, it'd be great to see if any of you have worked with it as a product. Okay, so no hands going up. Have any of you worked with a CRM before? Any type of CRM or database? Great, so I've got one of you. Okay, that's good. So effectively, Salesforce is a client relationship management tool. People, if you were to think of another name, people might call it a database. It's a place where you collect data about your customers ultimately, and also records the whole range of interactions with those customers. And I'll talk more about the ways that Salesforce supports different business departments on this journey. Salesforce started with the Sales Cloud, and it was very much a tool that was to help sales teams manage their leads and their sales pipeline, so they could track everything that we're doing from calls and activities. So I'll be sharing a little bit about the Sales Cloud tonight on my demo. And then they've evolved into developing a whole range of suite of other products that service, if you like, other business departments and support data collection and client engagement across those other things. The Sales Cloud is the most popular sales tool in the world. It does make Salesforce the #1 CRM for in the sector. They're the 4th largest enterprise software company in the world. So obviously they don't necessarily have competitive products to Microsoft in terms of Word and Excel, but they pretty much are on a par, if not better in some cases, than Microsoft Dynamics, which is the Microsoft CRM tool. So if you look at a lot of industry reports and sector reports, Salesforce comes out top. You can see the growth line on this slide as the companies continue to grow, and it's highly recognised as being very innovative, one of the best companies to work for. So indeed, you might aspire to have a job at Salesforce itself, or alternatively within one of the end customers or consultancies or products that are built on Salesforce. There's lots of different job roles available. And over 150,000 companies use Salesforce, including 88% of the FTSE 100, and over 30,000 non-profits use the product. So there's plenty of end customers out there and lots going on, and it continues to grow. So I'll share some of the stats around the growth of the sector in a moment. But one of the things that really appealed to me, and the reason I got involved in Salesforce, is they also have salesforce.org, which is like their foundation arm, if you like. And what they set up was a way of providing 10 free licenses to the non-profit sector and then heavily discounted licenses beyond the 10. And so they give free and heavily discounted technology to the non-profit sector, which is how I came across the product in the first place. And as part of that, they also very much support community engagement. So they get a lot of their staff providing up to 6 free days of volunteer time to the non-profit sector. And they also reinvest their profit in the salesforce.org organization into grants and give grants out to a range of projects that happen. So they're a very ethical company in that way. They very much like to give back and engage with the non-profit sector. And I would say Mark Benioff, that he set up the company, he's got a lot of passion for advocating for causes and making sure that business is done ethically. So he is a real inspiration. And one of the special things about Salesforce is the Salesforce Ohana. And that stands for, in Hawaii, it's recognized as family. So the Salesforce family there's a massive Salesforce community, and it's very strong, very enthusiastic and very passionate. And you can visit the Trailblazer community that Salesforce have, which is like an online forum, and everybody is very supportive and active at events. Everyone's very engaged. There's a mass movement behind this industry and product, and the enthusiasm is infectious, and you get quite addicted to it. And you once you become a Salesforce advocate, you tend to stick with it and want to grow with it. So Salesforce is a massively growing product, and you'll see on this slide the range of products that are available to it. So over on the left hand side, we've got the Sales Cloud, which is where they started. So as I say, there's part of the system really helps organizations manage their sales or their fundraising pipeline if you're in the non-profit sector. You've then got the Service Cloud, and the Service Cloud was set up very much for like call centers or helplines, or any sort of case management. So if people are calling up or you're getting emails, you'd use Service Cloud to facilitate all of that. But with the Service Cloud, it also links into social media. So dealing with social media inquiries, telephones, emails. It's basically responding to inquiries from customers and dealing with all of those areas. And then we've got the Marketing Cloud. So that's one of their biggest selling products in Salesforce at the moment. So they have 3 different products for marketing solutions. They've got the Marketing Cloud, Pardot, and Social Studio. So we have a lot of mums who are interested in have a marketing background and are interested in learning Salesforce and then specializing some of the marketing products. So one of our mums has now gone on to work as the Marketing Cloud account exec at salesforce.com directly, and her background was in marketing. You've then got the Community Cloud, and the Community Cloud very much plugs into service to some degree. What it does is provide a community license to customers or partners, and they can actually log into a part of the system that they're allowed to see. So you see communities being set up for customer service communities, membership communities, partner portals where you've got like affiliate partners that you might want to work with. So it's about creating a space where external stakeholders can log in and see and engage. And also you can use Chatter, which is like an online forum tool, which is what the Trailblazer community is based on. So within the community area, you can give people access to records, share files, documents, have this Chatter forum tool available as well. And then they've got analytics. So I'm going to show you reports and dashboards. And part of the beauty of Salesforce is the flexibility for reporting and analytics. So if you've got a head for data and you like to see, well, how many leads have we had in this month, and where have the leads been coming from, and who's managing what leads, you can create a suite of reports and graphs and really get an idea of what is happening. So it's looking at data at an aggregated level. And there's advanced analytic tools called Einstein Analytics that you can plug in to Salesforce. So if you love analytics, one of our mums went to work at a large corporate, and it specializes in data analytics. So all she does is produce reports and analytics for different team members. So you might specialize in something like that, for example. And then the next product on here is apps. So Salesforce has something called the App Exchange, and there's a load of different products, like thousands of products that have been either integrated with Salesforce or have been built using the Salesforce platform and to basically advance its functionality. So for example, Salesforce doesn't have an online payment tool, but there's various different products in the market who've created an online payment tool, so somebody can pay for, make a donation online. The app takes the payment and processes that, and then pushes the data into Salesforce directly. So you've got thousands of products on the App Exchange that interact with Salesforce and help to, as I say, enhance its functionalities in different ways, but also push the data back into Salesforce. And then you've got the Commerce Cloud. So this is more recent addition to the market. So they bought a product that allows them to have an e-commerce site that plugs into Salesforce. And then they've got Quip, and Quip is like a collaborative tool. It enhances almost the, if you think about a Word document, for example, but lots of people can write on it at the same time and collaborate on a document. It's allowing you to do that through Quip. So you can share and collaborate on documents, on spreadsheets, and you can pull data from Salesforce directly into those documents as well. So there's a suite of different products. There's also more specialized products. So there's Financial Force, which is a financial accounting software product that Salesforce developed and owned. There's also the Health Cloud, which is has been built for health related services, and it's got it's been designed to support GP practices or hospitals or medical type non-profits. You've also got Header, the higher education product. So if you've got a teaching background, you might be interested in working with the Header product, and they're very much focusing on colleges and universities to implement Header. And then you've got the non-profit cloud, which is very much tailored and focused on the non-profit sector. So there's a suite of different products, and then there's a suite of different apps, if you like Sales Cloud and Service Cloud, that transcend lots of different industries. And the types of customers that you might manage within the Salesforce CRM is customers, partners, suppliers, volunteers, any influencers that you might have, like media or politicians, and indeed employees as well. So a client relationship management allows you to manage relationships with all your different stakeholders in lots of different ways using all these range of products. And it's the one reason why people choose Salesforce instead of some other products. So quite often we'll have a non-profit that wants a product for fundraising. Now, there are competitive products, of course, but they will choose Salesforce because not only does it do fundraising, but it will also help them manage all their beneficiaries, and it'll help them manage their help desk, and it'll help them manage marketing, because it manages all of these different things. So it is very much a product that allows scalability across an organization. And not just for one department. It's an extensive tool. Now, due to the success of Salesforce, it's growing rapidly, and this slide and this report that you can read online by the IDC shows that the growth of job opportunities. So you can see with the green dots across the world map here is where new jobs are being created. And I think that the beauty of Salesforce is it's a global qualification. So we get quite a few mums on the course who are living elsewhere in the world, but they are expats effectively, and end up traveling with their husband's jobs, for example, or they're living between different places. And so Salesforce really is a global qualification, which means that you might get a job in where you're living at that point in time, but also it means that there are jobs globally, and because it's quite a virtual job that you could do, you could literally live anywhere. So my team at Economic Change, I have team members across the UK, but also Spain and France, and they work for me full time. Like, I don't need them to be in the UK for certain roles. And if they need to become in the UK, then they do travel back or come over as they need to. So Salesforce allows people to work from anywhere if you've got sort of virtual roles. So it's worth reading this report if you want to understand about the growth of the sector. Now, moving on to the role of a Salesforce admin. So I love the picture in the background of this slide, because really this is the feeling you get when you are working with employees and team members who you're helping them streamline their business processes using technology to make their lives better, and they just get so excited. And I'll explain that a bit in a moment, but it really is, you feel like a high five at the end of a project, because people have been frustrated about the lack of data they've got, the lack of data transparency, the lack of automation, the amount of admin they've got. People quite often come into a meeting and just go, oh my gosh, this is going to be so amazing having this new system and way of working, that having this eureka moment at the end of meetings is really where you get your job satisfaction. That's what you want to achieve. So the slide is really meaningful for me, because that's what I love at the end of the day, is feeling that we've helped people and they're really happy about what life is going to be like for them afterwards. So what does a Salesforce admin role look like? So we'll think through these different bits that I've got on this slide. So where you start is with business analysis. Now, with business analysis, what you're doing is sitting down with a team and going, okay, well, tell me how you run tell me how your team runs now. Tell us about your processes. Tell us about your reporting requirements. Let's talk through that and start to map it out, and let's help you understand how Salesforce can support that and improve it and make it quicker and more effective for all of you. So with business analysis, I love it because you get to understand about how different teams operate. So every day I'm with different organizations, learning about how they do their job and thinking about, well, how can I help them do their job better? So we really get down into the level of detail, but also you are developing solutions, you're problem solving all the time, and feeling like you're really enabling a team to as I say, make their job easier at the end of the day and help them achieve real results. So business analysis is literally that. It's asking questions, it's talking through things, it's helping them understand what the opportunities are with technology, and coming up with the needs that they have. And part of that is then starting to think about these other aspects. So once you've understood their needs and you've presented various options to them, you'll appraise the solutions that are out there. So you might look on the App Exchange and look at different, project management tools they could use, or different, online payments they might make, or different email marketing tools they could use. So you want to appraise the different solutions they have and present them back to them, give different scenarios and options, and then they go, okay, that's the one that we want, and they'll decide on what the actual technical solution will be, and then you'll potentially implement the solution. So if you want to get your hands dirty as Salesforce admin, which you will certainly learn if you go through the Salesforce admin route, you can build the system out for them and start to develop them, and if needed, get other developers and technical people involved in that journey. And throughout all of this, you're going to need project management skills to some degree, because you'll need to project manage, when you do the analysis, when you're going to go and build the product and when it's going to go live. And so there's an element of project management. And then once you've developed the solutions and implemented them, you then got to train people on them and make sure that they understand how to use it. Once they're then sort of up and running and using it, you'll provide some of the help desk functionality, because they'll probably call you up and say, hey, can we develop this? Or actually, I'm stuck with this, or this isn't quite working. And so you're providing a support desk role to them. And then also there's the bit about data analysis, where you can really help them understand what their data is showing them. So rather than looking at one customer and understanding the information related to one customer, it's about looking at that aggregated view about, well, how many leads have we had in, what's happening with those leads, who's looking after them, and really helping them understand their data and their performance as an organization. So this is where you really want to quiz them about their business key performance indicators and what they want to track and what that would look like. And so as you evolve through this journey, it's very much around problem solving. It's very much about supporting people through change, and nurturing, coaching, training, working with people and getting the most out of them, and teaching and supporting them. So their attributes, if you find that you have those skill sets, then, this role will very much lend itself to you. Now, what I'll go into is the Salesforce admin bit itself. Now, I think this is a great foundation for any type of role you go into. Now, on your journey, you might learn about Salesforce as a product and do the admin course, but then you might take on a role as a business analyst in its purest sense, and you might just be a business analyst, and you go in and talk to people every day about their problems and solutions, but then you hand it over to somebody else to do the technical bit. So there's certainly a role where you could just be a business analyst. There's a role where you could simply just be a project manager and have different people doing the business analysis for you and different people building it for you, but you are a Salesforce project manager. So you're just coordinating everybody and making sure everything's happening and you understand what needs to happen and what's possible. Or you could just say, actually, I want to work in a team and just do the build. I just want to do the technical bit, but other people can go and do the business analysis and project management. So you tend to get those roles where they're separated within bigger CRM implementation projects. There's certainly the capacity where you might be part of a team of admins where you provide a help desk role or training role, and you just do the technical bit. If you're working for a smaller organisation, like a lot of our non-profits are relatively smaller, you might find that you do all of these things because you're the only one in the organisation that's a Salesforce admin, in which case you might really enjoy the variety of things that's on this page, and as I say, do absolutely everything. Or you might prefer to work for a larger organisation or a consultancy where you're doing one or few of these things. The bits that I've kind of missed off here, I suppose, is some of the other aspects you could go into, which is more about marketing and sales. So you might learn all about Salesforce, but then actually go into a marketing and sales role and start selling the product to other people and doing demos and reaching out that way and supporting and onboarding people for new products. So the Salesforce admin skills really give you the foundations and understanding about what Salesforce can do, which allows you to then pursue different routes and avenues and different careers depending on what you really enjoy doing. Because some of you might really enjoy business analysis, but then not find that you're really enjoying the technical bit or the project management bit. On my personal journey, I really enjoyed doing the Salesforce admin bit, and I purely did Salesforce admin, I would say, for like 2 years within my own organization. When I got into consultancy and was a freelance consultant working independently, I'd do business analysis and project management and the technical bits. But now I've got a team of a team at Economic Change. I tend to just get involved in the business analysis bit because that's the bit I enjoy. And then I've got a project manager who will manage the project, and we've got a team who do the technical bit, and the technical bit is also done by our Supermums. So we've got a real, massive team on the technical bit. So I like to keep my hands in there because I like to know everything about the technical aspects, because then I know that it's been done right, or if we're going through it with a client, I can fix something. But I don't do as much technical as I used to, and that's because for me at the moment I'm quite happy doing the bits of the job that I enjoy, and kind of working through. So you really have that flexibility, as a mum, to go, actually, I've done technical for a couple of years, that's great, but actually now I want to go and do pure business analysis. And then you do that for a couple of years and say, well, actually I'll go and do project management for a bit, and you'll go and do project management. And so you can choose where you want to be, and you can try all of these different bits, and you could do all of it for one job and then actually decide, well, actually you just want to go and focus on different things. So your world's your oyster really, but you can sort of work through things. So now I'm going to get onto the fun bit, which is just really giving an example of what Salesforce design and admin is. And where we're going to start here is looking at what we'd look at during the business analysis stage, really. So you can see I've mapped out two processes on the right hand side, i.e. the old version and the new version. And I very much focus this on a lead, a new web inquiry coming through, thinking about the sales cycle at the very beginning of a sales cycle. So you can see on the old version of the process model here, when I've spoken to this team that I've engaged with, they communicated to me that the way they'd manage a new inquiry is an email would be received to them, which might have been from the website, for example, but it emails them the details about the person that's expressed interest. They then used to add this to a spreadsheet. They'd then manually respond to the person who submitted the inquiry with an email, so that would be through their normal Outlook, for example. They'd then have to manually email an employee to assign this inquiry to them. That employee would then have a chat with the person that's inquired and make notes on paper, and then they'd update the spreadsheet with what the outcome was, and then there would be various reviews of spreadsheets, which every salesperson might have their own spreadsheet, which we quite often find, and so there's no clear analytics really about what's going on. They have to compile spreadsheets in a team meeting and report back on what they're doing. And so the problems that this team face in the original sort of process is it's very, very manual. It's subject to delays if people aren't in or can't get back to people quickly. Everything's in different spreadsheets. They haven't got real clarity about what's happening or what communications happened with people. If people left their roles, they wouldn't be able to know, well, actually, was that person phoned back on this date, or when did things happen? So there's a lot of pain points here for this organisation. And so when we go through the new way of being and introduce them to new solutions that Salesforce could offer, this is what a typical process would look like. So we create an online inquiry form that would sit on their website. When somebody completes that, the data would automatically be fed into Salesforce. That would automatically trigger an email to the submitter to say thank you very much for your inquiry. Somebody will be in touch with you within 24 hours or whatever you want to do. It would automatically create a task for an employee to assign it to them. So all of this is automated. So immediately it's taking out all of this administration that you've got here. The employee would then call up that inquiry, and they'd log the activity in Salesforce. So they'd log the call and meetings that they've had, so there's that clarity about what's happened. And then when the sale is progressing, they convert it to what's called an opportunity in Salesforce. And this is where you sort of move somebody to the next stage of the sales pipeline. So I can show you that in a moment. And then with that, you can have the sales analytics dashboard. So this allows you to see, build reports and dashboards that show you where leads are, who's owning them, etc. So what I'm going to do is jump into the system so you can see what it looks like in practice. So first I'm going to show you an example lead form. So on our Supermums website, we have what's called a web to lead form here. Now, this can be easily produced in Salesforce, so we'll show you how that would be produced, for example, and that gets laid in and can be branded accordingly. So when somebody fills this in, this would immediately come into our Salesforce CRM, for example. Now, if I jump into Salesforce, you can see what Salesforce looks like here. So you can brand it with your own logo and colours. What I'm on now is the home page, which again you can sort of customize, but you can see on here that I've got a sales dashboard. So I've got some example graphs showing where leads have been sourced from. I can see that should be, a stage report. I've spelled that wrongly there. So this shows what stage the leads are at. And then I've got a new leads owner report. So this shows me who owns what leads. And down the right hand side, you can have various panels like showing tasks and events. Events means meetings, and also you've got various other objects you can put onto here. So when a lead comes in, so say for example somebody completed our online form here, that would come in as a lead, and you can see that I've got a range of open leads here as they've come in. So when a lead comes in, you've got various options here to log calls, tasks, events, and emails. So you get sort of then the activity panel happening. You've got the details tab that this is where all the information is automatically populated within, and you can see everything here. And then you've got Chatter. And Chatter is this internal conversational tool. So say, for example, Brenda lead was created, and I was thinking, I recognise that company. I wonder if Sam's worked with them before. I could do a post on here and communicate with Chatter, and you can have a conversation with colleagues around this particular area. Now, across the top here, you can see this is called a path. So this is a lead path to show what stage somebody's at, and you can actually put instructions in around this. Now you can see I've got a range of different fields on here, which show me where things are at. So you've got things like lead status, rating, email, lead source, industry, address, product, those different things that you want to add on. So this is where everything sort of kicks off. Now what I'm going to show you is a little bit about the back end of the system. So where you would be able to update things and create email templates and web to lead forms. So in Salesforce, what you do is you click on what we call the setup area. Now this allows you to the back end of the system. As an admin, you basically own your system. Salesforce don't own it. You don't need to go to any third party to do it. You can sort of customize it if you like. So if I was creating a web to lead form, which is like this form we've got here, I would go to, in my quick find, I'm going to go to web to lead. And in here, I can click on web to lead. I can click create web to lead form. I can choose the fields that I want to put in my form from the lead record. I can put the return URL, and then I can click generate. And what that does is provide a piece of code. So I'll just put in some tests here. Click generate. This produces a code, and what you'd want to do is lay that code into your web page, and it would create your web to lead form. And so if somebody filled that in, that would automatically populate. So it's that easy to create a web to lead form. What you probably need to do is maybe brand it, so it looks like it. So you might need to speak to your web developer about branding it, but it gives you the code to do it. So it's literally that easy. Now, if I wanted to automate an email template, to say thank you very much for inquiry, I would go into what we call an email template area, and I can create a new template. So in here I can choose what type of template that I want to create, so text or HTML or whatever it is that I want. I can then I'd choose the folder, so I'm just going to choose one here and put in test. Always available for use. Choose the letterhead that I want. So again, you can create different letterheads with different branding on. I can create different types of email layouts. I'd put a description in and say response to new lead, for example. And if I click next, I can then in here merge fields from it. So if I wanted to find, so I want to find the lead fields. So the lead field means that I can choose any field that is on the lead object. If I go first name, I can drag this into here. Just going to let me drag it. Maybe it won't let me drag it, depending on what day it is. Let me do that. So here I put dear lead name, thank you very much for your inquiry. We will be in contact in 24 hours, and then you'd best wishes. And you can also merge the response fields of whoever it's been merged from, but you might say from economic change, for example. So that's giving me an email template, and you can brand the email template, as I say, as you need to, and develop that. So that's how easy it is to create an email template. And if you want to automate it, just created a template, that's always useful. So I need to change the name. I've chosen a name that we already have in the system, so I always love live demos. That's always good. So let's just cancel that for now. We don't really need to save that because I can choose one of these other ones. So if I go into workflow rules is where you can automate things. So I can create a new rule and say when a lead, so if we find the lead and I click next, and I can say new lead inquiry. So I can say evaluate the rule whenever a record is created. So we'd want to do created in this particular sense. And I could say created date, for example, equals today. So whenever you develop an automated process, you need to think carefully about what the criteria might be. So I'm just using this example. So this would trigger this action if a lead is created today. Now you probably want to put some additional criteria in there to say that this lead has come through the website, for example. So there's probably additional criteria you would want to embed in a process to make sure that this lead is only triggered if somebody submits to the website. And on here I can create either a new task or an email alert or update a field. So on here I can create a new email field. So send email to web inquiry. And so click here, and then I can choose the email template, which I won't be able to choose the one that we've just done because it didn't show. And then I can choose the relevant email field on here. So this email field is the one related to Brenda here. So we've got email, Brenda, and chosen that one. So I'm going to put that over into selected recipients. I can also add additional emails, and I can choose the email address this is sent from. So you can set up like a company email address like info at, etc., and I can click save. So that means that if somebody submits a lead via the website, for example, given the criteria, what it will do is then automatically send this email that I've created out to that person and thank you very much. I could then create on this same workflow a task to say assign the task to an employee, to say so I can do assign to, subject, unique, due date, etc., and set those up and automate all of those different things that we've talked about. The other aspect of that process was then about logging activities, so I've shown that. And then you've got things like the reports and dashboard. So let's just look at that a moment. So on here we've got a sales dashboard. I'm just going to then show you how we'd add or create a new report on here. So here we've got this example dashboard. Now if I click onto one of these, it's going to show me the report that sits underneath. So somebody might say to you, I'd like to see the industries, the different industries that we're getting leads from. So what I'm going to do is click edit on this example report I've got already. And I'm going to go and find the industry report. Now the flexibility here in Salesforce is that literally you can create reports and dashboards, reports off any fields that you've got in the system. So here I've got lead status at the moment. So I want to group rows this time by industry. So I'm hoping we've got some good data in here. So here we've got industry. Now 18 of my records are blank, so that's not giving me a lot of great data, and it means that maybe you've got a data integrity problem in the organization because this isn't being filled in. So it shows me that we've got one inquiry for agriculture and one for technology, and I can add a chart to this to show this. So I could go to the manager and say, hey, we've got a problem here, actually people aren't filling in the industry, so I can't give you really tangible data. And so what I'm going to do is just save this. So I'm going to save as, and I'm going to call it new leads by industry report. Click save. So there I have a new report, and I can just go and add this onto the dashboard. So I'm going to create this dashboard. Add it, sorry, to the dashboard. So on this dashboard, I can click edit, and I can add component, and I can select the report on here. Now the beauty of this also, it gives you then more different type of graphs that you can choose. So you might choose a chart like this, or a different type of bar chart, for example, but there's lots, depending on what you're doing, there's lots of different things that you could add in here. And you can also make these different sizes. So you can really play around with this, and you can download any of these now as well as JPEGs. So if people need them for a report, you can do. Now, having had this discussion with the manager, it's apparent that this industry field really needs to be filled in, but people aren't doing it. So what my suggestion as Salesforce admin would be is to make sure that that industry field is always populated. So one, you'd probably want to make sure that it's a field on the web to lead form. But two, what I'd also be doing is saying, okay, well, let's change that. So going into what we want to do is make that field compulsory, for example, on this record layout. So it means that somebody can't save the record without industry being populated. So if I go back into setup, I can go into the objects, which is where I can see all of the different. I go into the object manager here, and I can go and visit the lead object, which is where this information is stored. So I'm just going to go into quick find and find lead. Click on the lead object. Now this is where I'd manage everything to do with this lead object. So I can see all of the fields that are in it. So you can see all the fields here. I can see the page layouts. And there's various other things on here that you can think about and do. Now there's different page layouts for leads, as you can see here. Now if I click on one of these and click edit, what it's going to do is take me to the page layout. Now one of the things that people love about the page layouts is that you can literally drag and drop fields wherever you want them. So I could say, well, actually, let's put industry at the top. Maybe that would make sure people fill it in. And I can click on this little spanner and say required, and make sure that it's required. So it's always got to be populated by somebody in this record. So it means having these sorts of validations means that your compulsory data is added into the system and is there. So you'd want to make sure that was required. And also, they might say, well, actually, let's sort of remove some of the data off here so people don't get confused by things. So we don't need current generators, for example, and we don't need number of locations. So you can drag and drop things off the layout. So it's really quite simple. You know, you can create new fields, you can drag and drop on page layouts, you can create email templates, you can automate things, you can create reports and dashboards, and it just really helps people. So people would manage this. And as I mentioned before, when you convert a lead, what it does is change it to an organization and a contact. So Cardinal Inc. would become an organization, Brenda McClure would become a contact, and then you'd transition it over to opportunity. So if I click convert now, it then allows it tests a range of different things in here. So it's checking if there's any duplicates and alerting me to them. Sorry, I need to move the GoToMeeting panel out of the way. And I can click convert. Oh, I've got do not create an opportunity on things. Let's just untick that, sorry. So you can see that duplicate management rules are set up as well, so it would identify duplicates. And there it's created Brenda as a contact. It's related to the organisation. And then we've got, should have an opportunity related to Brenda now. So let's just check. All set up. So well, I've done it twice. That's because I thought it hadn't converted the first time. So here, if we click on related list, you can see that we've got this opportunity that's now appeared. And then this shows up as, you can see the sales pipeline that we've got here. Again, you can log activities and you can show details. And down the right hand side, you've got various other what we call related lists. So you can have products, you can have quotes. This is all functionality of the Sales Cloud. You can upload notes and attachments. You can have opportunity teams. There's a whole range of functionality that comes with the Sales Cloud that you can really use to support your sales teams. So that's a little bit about how admin works, how you can move through. So moving back then to thinking about, well, how do you, if this sort of appeals to you and you want to, get more involved and you think you've got the relevant skill sets, let's just talk about how you sort of go about it. So Salesforce have the Trailhead, which is an online learning platform now, which is great. And some people can very much self-learn and go through some of these, badges and learn what the system does. So we will be sending out a Trailhead for you all to do tomorrow, so you can all have a play. I'll send you the Trailhead that is about Salesforce, so you can learn more from them directly about what it is and offers. And there's also a whole range of different certifications that you can do. So the one that I'd recommend and that we've actively supported mums to sort of start with is the administrator certification. So you can see that's right at the top here. When I started out, there literally was only 5 or 6 certifications, and recently in the last couple of years they've introduced a whole suite of different certifications. Now, by no stretch do you need to complete all of these certifications. You'll probably choose unspecialized, and I think that's a reality, and what's highly recommended now is that you become more of a specialist in certain areas rather than try and do absolutely everything. Particularly, you'd only do platform 1 and 2 if you want to become a developer and use code. So if you understand coding and you previously had work, that's probably a route you'd want to go down. Or you might want to get more involved in architect, or kind of learn the different products through the consultancy certifications. There's lots of different routes that you can go down. What I'd highly recommend for getting into the sector, and the reason I developed the Supermums course, is that you can practice everything, but really what you need is real life work experience to really get that under your belt. Now, what I'd encourage you to do is make sure that you get work experience working alongside experienced people, because if you do it yourself, you don't know if you're doing it right or wrong. You've not got anybody overseeing your work. So you really want to make sure that the first time that you're working with the system, particularly if you're working on a real life client org, is that you've got somebody overseeing what you're doing and supporting you, so you know that you're doing it right. With that, then you'll get more confidence from that, and you'll be able to get feedback and references as well. Now, in order to practice things, you can get a developer org. Anybody can set up a Salesforce developer org for free, and that's really becomes your playground, really, your place to try things out, practice things, test things, so it's not in a live client org. So you really want to sort of develop all your skills. On the right here, we've got a picture of Bruna, who's on our Salesforce Supermums. So she's got the Trailblazer badge now, the Ranger, because she completed 100 badges on Trailhead, and she works for Salesforce. So she's done really well in developing her skill set and developing, and a lot of people are continuing to learn more and more about the product through getting involved in Trailhead, but also getting your hands dirty with the system, and getting that supervision is something I'd sort of highly recommend. And the reality is with Salesforce is that it's like any learning curve, really. As you go through it, you're kind of, you're learning something for the first time, you're getting your head around it, you'll kind of be really excited, oh, I really get it, and then you put it into practice and it doesn't always quite work the way that you think it's going to, and so you're going to go on that that journey where your confidence is a little bit up and down because it's something new. And I have to say, every client that I work with on a Salesforce project, I'm always challenged to think, well, how do we do that? And that's what I love about consultancy, because we've now worked as a team on 174 Salesforce implementations, and every single one is different and requires a slightly different approach, and quite often different tools and techniques. So every day we're problem solving, no implementation's the same, we're working with different types of people all the time, with different personalities and learning styles and everything. So no project is the same. We have to think about how we tackle it differently, whether it's supporting people differently or helping them differently, or designing new processes, using Salesforce in different ways. So I'm always on a learning journey. Every day I'm thinking, okay, how do we do that? And kind of always being challenged. And that's what you've got to thrive in, that environment. You've got to feel really comfortable about always being up for that challenge of going, well, how do we do that? Let's learn that. And the reality is now, because Salesforce has got so big, you're not going to know everything. You have to go and look it up. So even as consultants, having worked on loads of orgs, we can't possibly know everything that Salesforce can do right now, because it's advancing at such a rate that a little time it feels a little bit overwhelming. So the best thing is to become specialists in certain products that you know really well. So the Sales Cloud really well, or the Service Cloud really well, or the MPSP product really well. And if you know those products really well, you'll be really comfortable really working with that and stretching that product, and playing with how that can work in different ways for people. So that's the route that a lot of people are going down now, is not trying to know and understand all of those different products, but sort of becoming really good at one and then moving on to another and kind of evolving it that way. So you can go through lots of different career routes. Some of our Supermums that are qualifying are jumping straight into project manager, business analyst roles. And that doesn't mean to say that they aren't doing some technical work. Some are and some aren't. So they're working on these higher salaries of 40 to 60. If you just go in at an administrator role where you're simply just building and not necessarily having those other responsibilities, you'll have lower salaries. But technically some mums like this because it's less responsibility, and while they've got young kids, they prefer to actually get their hands dirty, provide more support, and see it as a less stressful role, really. If you're kind of dealing with a lot of customers and doing the business analyst and project manager role, there is more responsibility there to get it right. And also I'd encourage people to do business analysis or project management qualifications if they haven't got those already, because that's going to help you get the higher salaries. Some of the project managers are definitely earning 65 to 70k in the commercial sector, if not more, and are on day rates of 400 a day if they're contracting. So there's well-paid roles out there at every level. The junior to senior admins, as I say, are between 30 and 45, are on day rates of maybe 250 to 300, depending on what type of clients they're working with. And then if you go down the technical route of developer, which is more code, you can be earning 50 to 75 to upwards to 100, depending on how you advance. What I'd say is, as people progress through these roles, you could literally increase your salary by 10k every 2 years by moving roles or by upskilling yourself in your current employment. It's that easy to kind of advance 10k each year between these type of pay scales and keep sort of developing yourself. So people like diversity, whether it's in the same company or different companies. In terms of how we've been supporting people to get there, so I'll just talk a little bit about our Salesforce Supermums program for the last part of the call. So we've attracted mums from a whole range of different backgrounds and industries, and they certainly find a place in Salesforce that they're aligned to or familiar with. So they might end up working for customers in industries that they're quite familiar with already, which is quite easy because they understand the industry, but what they're doing is learning Salesforce and applying it to that industry. Or they might find that they work for a completely different industry, but use their skills to support them. So some of our mums have come from business analysts, project management backgrounds, and so they're learning Salesforce, but then they're happy to work with a range of different industries. So during the course, the first 3 months, you participate in a 2.5-hour webinar each week, and then we set you homework where you'll be set a specific case study. So we work with a case study, and then you'll do practical activities to help set up a system for this case study. And then we'll also assign you different trailheads to do. So our mums have really enjoyed having a clear focus of what they're meant to be doing each week, and we provide a mentor to you to check your homework. So each week we want to check that you have done that practical work and you have done it properly, because we want that assurance that you've understood what we've taught you and that you're confident in that you have actually done it properly. So it's really important to me that we have a mentor there who provides 1 to 2 hours a week to oversee what you've done and give feedback and support you if you haven't quite got it. If you've successfully completed all your homework and the trailheads, and you feel confident, then that's when you get involved in the work experience in month 4. So with the non-profits that Economic Change works with, we've gone out to some smaller non-profits where they couldn't afford a full implementation, if you like, and we said to them, well, look, you pay a minimum of 6 days to our consultancy team and they go out and design the system, which some of our trainees do get involved with if they want to. And so my team of consultants go out, do the business analysis, design the system, and produce a workbook, basically a technical specification about what needs done. And that's what we share with the mum throughout the work experience placement. So during 2 months, you're given 16 hours a week of practical work to build out a system. So you'll be building out objects and fields, email templates, automations like those workflows that I showed you, reports and dashboards, and really just getting your head into a system. So that's all done virtually as well. We give you, as I say, a workbook and we talk through it. So there'll be an hour a week where we talk through things and also check what you've done. And then it gets delivered live to the client. So you can also get involved in training the client on Salesforce Admin. So you could teach them how to do email templates or how to update fields and all of those different aspects, which the mums really relish. They're nervous about that quite often, but they really do enjoy it once they've done it. And as I say, all of it's virtual, but some of our trainees have decided to attend some of those workshop days that we've run, so they understand the project from start to finish, but that's completely optional. And so during that time, the mentor, the consultant will act as a mentor as well, but also your mentor will be supporting you with anything you get stuck with. So you should have approximately 40 hours of one-to-one support from a mentor during that time. So once you get to the end of it, we tend to finish off, we have a little study group, and people can, just to help you get over the line and complete your admin certification, which is a certification with Salesforce directly. And then we have our recruitment arm where we can help place you in job opportunities in the marketplace. So as part of our program, we have like a recruitment agency, and we've made 18 placements. But of the mums that have qualified now, 28 of them are now working in Salesforce roles. So on this slide, I've just got some quotes about what people, what some of the trainees have said about the course. So they really enjoy being part of cohorts. They really enjoy the deadlines and having clear focus of what they've done each week. And they really enjoy the work experience and being enjoyed and figuring out the problems and having, the support of a consultant, obviously supporting them and telling them what to do. So it's great to get this feedback, and it's really suiting those types of learners who need that momentum, they need that accountability, they want that confidence and support, and they wouldn't necessarily do it, by themselves off their own back and help them. So we have mums that contact us who've just completed Trailhead and then trying to get a job, and the reality is it's very hard to get a job having just completed Trailhead without any relevant work experience or anybody overseeing your work experience. So I'd really advocate, getting all that package support. And we've had mums join the program from 5 different countries, and we've got volunteer mentors from, again, all over the world. So we've had some Spanish mums, and we'll try and connect them with a mentor that speaks Spanish, for example. And then we have an event where we get together once a year. We tend to try and connect with community events as well, but we have the graduation ceremony where everybody gets together, normally at Salesforce Towers. So people really enjoy the fact that it's at Salesforce Towers in London, which is really exciting, and people get a buzz out of that as part of it. And we've got a range of YouTube videos. So if you go to our Salesforce Supermums YouTube, we've done interviews with a range of mums, including some of the mums on this slide, which just share their background about where they came from, what they're doing now. And it just gives you a bit of perspective really around what's possible. And as I say, we've had mums come from a whole range of backgrounds, whether it's data analysts, non-profit, teaching backgrounds, marketing backgrounds, recruitment backgrounds, and they've all transferred their skills into the Salesforce sector, basically. So if you fancy getting involved, our next course starts on the 26th of February. We're literally getting inquiries and applications through on a daily basis now, which is great. So we're really excited. We tend to take a maximum of 15 on a course at the moment, and that's our absolute maximum, because obviously we're providing work experience for everybody. We have a cap. So we start courses in February, May, September and November, and it takes 6 months. It's a commitment of 16 hours a week, and you will need to commit that amount of time. There is that much work to do. So yeah, happy to answer any questions that you might have. Happy to, please put them in the question panel if you have any, or feel free to email me directly. I'll also send out an email, a link for Deborah's Calendly. So Deborah was one of the Supermums on our course, and she's very happy to talk through what the course entailed because she's been through it herself, and answer any questions on the phone. So she helps onboard mums and support them to complete the application form as well. So yeah, thank you very much for listening and being on the call. As I say, if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat. So I'll just wait a few moments just to see if you have any. So Ricky, have you got a question? Okay, so yes, the webinar's been recorded, so you'll be able to access it afterwards as well. So an automated email will come out to you with the webinar recording. Great, any other questions? Great. So hi, if we join the course, by what time are we ready to apply for a job? So some of our mums, we've been able to successfully secure jobs before they've actually finished the course. So I would say probably in about month 5, we'd want to start looking for work for you. It depends on what your previous experience and background is, to be honest, because say, for example, you've come from a business analyst or project management background or some type of database background, you might be more confident and ready to apply for a job, in month 4 or 5 and be getting it, and the employer might support you and be supportive of you finishing your, your work experience. You tend to be doing 16 hours a week up until for the 6 months. So some of our mums are quite happy, they want a 3-day a week job and they're finishing the course around the job that they've got. So I would say, by which point you're ready to apply for a job will depend on your background and your confidence levels. By the end of the course, you should definitely be ready for, applying for a job and finding, working with our team and making sure that we're putting you into a type of job role that's suitable for you. Great. So it doesn't seem to be any other questions right now. So as I say, thanks very much for joining. If you want to find out more information about the course, make sure that you've downloaded our information pack from the website. When you download that, it will also send through a link to an application form and also a link to contact Deborah if you want to have a one-to-one chat with her directly about your circumstances. So we're more than happy to have a chat and continue the conversation if you liked what you saw tonight. So thanks very much again. Have a great evening. Take care, everyone.